speaking about CD, unless you have something else to say about Jamar, the feeling is that Ceedee Lamb might settle somewhere between the $35 million, or sorry, right behind the $35 million a year deal that Justin Jefferson just signed with the Vikings earlier in the offseason. Jefferson got a 4-year deal. That kind of makes perfect sense for both sides here. For CD, looks like he's probably asking for 4 years, right behind that 35. The obstacle we talked about Brandon Ayuk is potentially the guaranteed money. Looking at the guaranteed money for wide receivers right now for the top 3 contracts, or at least the guarantees in the contracts: Justin Jefferson at $110 million guaranteed. 2 is A.J. Brown at $84 million guaranteed. And Amon-Ra St. Brown, who just signed his contract, A.J. Brown did, Justin Jefferson did all this offseason, at $77 million in guarantees. The newest news very recently, obviously we were, texting about it and then in the chat, whatnot. Newest news is that the Cowboys are closing in on potentially a 4-year deal worth between $136 and $138 million. Looking at that cap space and what it's going to do to the Cowboys cap space, potentially, is next year we're going from $65 million in cap space to $32 million in cap space. So obviously dramatically cutting it, but that is what you get when you sign a top flight wide receiver. So just talking about the Ceedee Lamb contract first, I know you kind of speculated potentially that they maybe weren't getting close to a deal, and that's what Ceedee Lamb's camp actually leaked and what they're looking for. So is it the guarantees we're getting held up on? Is it everything? Is it the years? Like, what are we looking on the hang up right here for Ceedee Lamb?
I mean, this is going to be the one where I'm going to blame the organization, because there's really no reason why they shouldn't have done something with Dak this offseason just to lower his cap hit. You guys really look like you're headed towards turning over your quarterback and your head coach next year. Right. And if I hear one more damn thing on the internet about Trey Lance, I'm just going to laugh my ass off, because I don't know if you've seen the training camp clips, but my God, the guy cannot throw a football. And that makes me sad, because I thought he was going to be the future, and he's not. So, Can you win a Super Bowl with Dak Prescott and Mike McCarthy as your head coach? I don't know. But who are you handing it off to if you can't? Because the Raiders were mediocre with Derek Carr. They made it to the playoffs a couple times, and now they ain't shit. Don't you think the Raiders would like to make the playoffs this year with Derek Carr? I know Derek Carr's kind of been awful the past couple of seasons. I'm just saying, like, you got to have a backup plan. This isn't the 49ers have had Steve Young on the bench for 3 years behind Joe Montana. It's time to give him his shot. Like, there's no Steve Young on your guys' bench. No matter how much people want to compare Trey Lance to Steve Young, he ain't it. So in this case, I kind of blame the Cowboys here, because you guys got a lot of people that want to get paid. You got a coach that wants to get paid. You got a quarterback that want to get paid, a wide receiver that wants to get paid, a defensive lineman / linebacker that wants to get paid.
Yeah.
And you guys, I know I've made a lot of jokes, but your guys' all-in offseason has been, you stole a linebacker from the 49ers. That's all you've really done. And you drafted a tackle that you hated.
Looking at the CD, obviously it's...
And I got my Cowboys blue on tonight, so...
It's one of those things that I want done, right? CD has been incredible, and he's done nothing but progress year after year after year. Again, I've said it once on the podcast. I've said it again on the podcast, and I'll say it again on the podcast, is when there was the trade away, one of the worst deals ever, trading away Amari Cooper, and CD was going to step in to be the one. I truly said before it happened, I said, I don't know if CD's actually ready for that type of role. And he stepped into it, and he flourished, and he's very, 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 very talented in the number 1 overall role, wearing the 88 proudly. But when it looks at the cap space after signing Ceedee Lamb and not getting a deal done with Dak, and reportedly he was offered a new contract within the last week, but there's been no new word given on if the contract terms are acceptable, or if they're how far away they are or close. It's been radio silent out of the news, outside of a couple of spurts of, he's been offered a new contract, and really not a lot of reports on how close or far away they really are. I can't help but to think and kind of be in the same boat as you that it's coming to an end of an era in Dallas, right? There's been an influx of reports since the season ended that the feelings around Dak's camp is that this is the last year in a Cowboys uniform. The deal is not getting done. The camp isn't very happy about it, and this would pave the way for a new deal for Micah next offseason, and then a new starting quarterback next year, whether that's Trey Lance or, Shedeur Sanders. I'm not so sure. But that's what it's going to pave the way for. I was hoping you'd catch it. It was a little late.
I watched every snap of Colorado last year. Listen, as hyped as I am about the NFL season and the 49ers, I have a small, at least I know if the season doesn't go the way I want it to, I can dive full into college football because I'm very, very excited for this upcoming season. And I think you and we provided excellent coverage this last offseason about the draft and
definitely
the rankings. And you and me have done this for numerous years, and now we have it all on videotaped. It's not 1994, but I'm just
it's on cassette.
Shedeur. Okay. I think he's like the number 2 quarterback in this class, but that's not a good thing. I don't think so. If that's what the Cowboys are waiting on. But getting back to the whole CD thing, man, is how good is Dak Prescott? You and me can have that conversation. If he's top 5, top 10, top 12, I can make an argument, right?
Definitely.
If you and me want to have a Ceedee Lamb argument, we're starting at number 1 and not going any lower than number 4.
Yeah.
Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, Ceedee Lamb, and potentially Jamar Chase are the 4 wide receivers that are in that conversation, and no one else is. And
you don't think Amon-Ra or Devontae has a stake in the claim?
Top 4? No. Amon-Ra, no.
So?
No. Amon-Ra, I'm fading Amon-Ra this year. He is not capitalizing on last year. He's not having a bigger season than he had last year. I think CeeDee Lamb is the best wide receiver in the NFL. Personally, I think he is. Justin Jefferson is also the best wide receiver in the NFL. That's where I'm at with those 2 guys.
Right.
Tyreek Hill is cool, and he has been one of the best, but he's getting older, and Tua is suspicious. CeeDee Lamb did all this shit with Dak Prescott as his quarterback last year.
Yeah.
Justin Jefferson has done everything that he's done with Kirk Cousins and shit as his quarterback. So to me, those are the best 2, and you can argue them either way. But when you have a top 3 wide receiver on your team, there's no doubt that you're paying that guy. There's no doubt that you're paying Micah Parsons. There can be doubt about Dak. I understand the Dak doubt. Yeah. I've seen it firsthand in the playoffs. So, oh God, that makes me so happy. But I mean, let me ask you this. If you called every GM in the NFL and said, hey man, you want Dak or do you want Jordan Love? How many are taking Jordan Love? Probably quite a few.
Yeah.
I bet you there's NFL GMs out there. Oh, this is going to piss some people off. I bet there's NFL GMs out there that would take Jordan Love over Lamar Jackson. Just looking at the future and going forward and everything, it's just, Jordan Love had half a season. Yep. And then he had 2 awful mistakes in the playoffs that gifted the 49ers a win that they should not have had.
Yeah.
And they handed that dude the bag.
Yep.
And Dak balls his heart out every year, and the Cowboys are like, nah, we're good. But you got to pay CD. He's a top 2, top 3 wide receiver in the league. He's getting his money.
Definitely.